Alrighty, so here we are on lesson 10, writing and interpreting inequality statements involving rational numbers. So we're going to be using inequality symbols, so you might want to write yourself a little note here up at the top that this inequality symbol, remember, means less than. And then if you flip it the other way, this means greater than. Alright, so this is what we're going to be using to compare our rational numbers. So example 1 says the amount of money I have in my pocket is less than $5 but greater than $4. What is one possible value for the amount of money? So if it's in between 4 and 5, we know that maybe $4.50 would be an option. And then part B says to use these symbols to write an inequality statement comparing the possible values of the money in my pocket to $4. So we're comparing 4 and then $4.50, and we know that $4.50 is greater, so the symbol needs to open up to face the bigger number always. And then part C says to use these symbols to write an inequality statement comparing the possible value of the money in my pocket to $5. So now if I'm comparing 5 and $4.50, we know that 5 is the bigger number, so we need to open up to that bigger number always. And then if we look at number 2 here, it says graph your answer from example 1 in part A on the number line listed on the number line below. So I'm going to put 0 in the middle, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'd have -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. So for part A, we were at $4.50. So it'd be right here in the middle. This was A. B, we were comparing it to $4, so this will be B. And then C was at $5, so there would be C. And then that kind of took care of number 3, where it says graph the points associated with 4 and 5 on the number line. And now it says to write one inequality statement that shows the relationship among all 3 numbers. So that means we're going to combine it, and we're going to need more than one inequality symbol. So I'm going to put my numbers in numerical order first, so $4, $4.50, and then $5. So we know that $4.50 is greater than $4, so my symbol needs to open up to the $4.50. And then we know that $5 is greater than $4.50, so again it needs to open up to the bigger number, so to the $5. So that's all we have to do for that example. So you can go ahead and flip over onto the next page. And this example says to write one inequality statement to show the relationship between the following shoe sizes, 10.5, 8, and 9. So from least to greatest, we know that 8 is less than 9, and 9 is less than 10.5. And then if we go from greatest to least, we're going to go with our symbols the opposite direction. 10.5 is bigger than 9, and 9 is greater than 8. Okay, so make sure you have those symbols down. And the next example, they give us a table comparing rainfall totals for May, June, and July. And underneath it says write inequalities that order the changes in total rainfall. So we're looking at total rainfall, which is this last column over here on the right. So from least to greatest, now we need to think about least would be, of course, the negative number, so -1.4, which is less than. Our next biggest number would be 0.3, which is less than 0.5. And now if we went the other direction, from greatest to least, we would start with 0.5, which is greater than 0.3, which is then greater than -1.4. And then it says, does the greatest number indicate the greatest change in rainfall? So we know that the greatest number, based off of what we just did, is 0.5. But if we look at the greatest change, the greatest change would be 1.4. So again, we're looking at the overall change, so the absolute value. So we would say no, and then our reasoning would just be exactly what we wrote down here. Okay, we'll go over to the next page. Two more examples we're going to do together. So number 1 says Mark's favorite football team lost yards on 2 plays back to back. They lost 3 yards on the first play. They lost 1 yard on the second play. Write an inequality statement using integers to compare the progress made on each play. So first we need to write down our integers. So if they lost 3 yards, that would be a -3. Then if they lost 1 yard, that would be a -1. So now if we're going to compare -3 and -1, remember we have to think about this is negative, so it's kind of backwards. So we know -3 is less than -1. Alright, and if you need to draw out a number line to help you, you can do that. So this would be 0, -1, -2, and this would be -3. Alright, so we see that -1 is bigger because it's closer to 0. And then the last one we're going to do together is number 2. Number 2 says Sierra had to pay the school for 2 textbooks that she lost. One textbook cost $55 and the other cost $75. Her mother wrote 2 separate checks for each expense. Write 2 integers that represent the change to her mother's checking account balance. And then write an inequality statement that shows the relationship. So the first one cost $55, so that's a -55. And then our other integer would be a -75. So now if we're comparing the two, -55 and -75, we know that -55 is closer to 0, so that means -55 is greater than -75. Alright, and then number 3, put a star by it. I want you to try this one on your own. And then we will go over it in class tomorrow. And then don't worry about number 4. Alright, so go ahead and try number 3. We'll go over it in class and bring any questions you might have to class as well.